Radhey Radhey everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about verses 33 to 36 of chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, or Dhyana Yoga. First, let's go to verse 33. Arjun said, "The system of yoga that you have described, O Madhusudan, appears impracticable and unattainable to me, due to the restless mind." What was the yoga that Sri Krishna described? In the previous verses, Sri Krishna explained all the requirements for yoga, such as controlling the senses and focusing the mind only on God. A point to note in this verse is that Arjuna addressed Krishna as Madhusudan, the slayer of the demon Madhu. Arjun says that this yoga needs great discipline and is basically impossible. The reason he says this is because the mind always wanders everywhere. Verse 34. The mind is very restless, turbulent, strong, and obstinate, O Krishna. It appears to me that it is more difficult to control than the wind. The mind is restless because it always wanders, thought after thought. It is turbulent because it disturbs and creates problems like anger and greed. It is strong because it makes us go wherever it goes. And it is obstinate because when it holds a bad thought, it clings to it. Because of these reasons, Arjun implies to the problems of the mind by stating that it is harder to control than the wind, which is almost impossible to control. Verse 35. Lord Krishna said, "O many-armed son of Kunti, what you say is correct. The mind is indeed very difficult to restrain, but by practice and detachment, it can be controlled." Krishna calls Arjun mighty-armed and also calls him the son of Kunti. He also agrees with Arjun's statement that the mind is indeed very difficult to control, but he also counters the statement by saying that with practice and detachment, it can be controlled. Practice keeps the mind steady, and detachment helps focus it on God. You may have noticed that Krishna does not use the word anigraha, which means impossible. Rather, he uses the word durnigraha, meaning difficult. In this world, there are so many difficult tasks that humans do, such as going to space or even to the moon. According to the verse, controlling the mind is much easier and can be achieved through practice and detachment. Verse 36. Yoga is difficult to attain for one whose mind is unbridled. However, those who have learned to control the mind and who strive earnestly by the proper means can attain perfection in yoga. This is my opinion. Sri Krishna states that if the mind is uncontrolled, it is very difficult to manage, as said in the last verse. He also says that in order to achieve perfection in yoga, one must be able to control the mind and one must strive earnestly to achieve it. He then finally mentions it as only his opinion. Going back to how one must strive earnestly, people have many choices. One can either watch Netflix every morning, which is very easy and needs only a subscription, or one can strive and practice devotion and detachment. Swami Ramtirth used to love apples. In order to detach his mind from them, he used to put them in front of him, but not let himself eat it. After a few days, the apples became rotten and he improved on controlling his mind. This is a beautiful example of this verse. The main points of these verses. In verse 33, the yoga that Sri Krishna described seems impossible to Arjun. In verse 34, Arjun compares controlling the mind to controlling the wind. In verse 35, Krishna mentions that it can be controlled through practice and detachment. And in verse 36, he then describes his opinion of how one attains yoga. These verses elaborate and give us knowledge of yoga as well as how to attain it. And they also tell us about controlling the mind. Thank you, and Radhey Radhey.